Jason Isaac is CEO of American Energy Institute. Jason, can you hear me, man?
I can hear you loud and clear. No big tech censorship this morning.
Oh, can you hear me now? How much did you hate those stupid commercials?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So there was also something stupid going on in California. It's called an EV mandate. I'm glad that the hair gel got out of the way and Trump said, you can't make people buy electric cars. This is America. So he basically killed it. He killed it.
He did. For decades, California has had this ability from the Environmental Protection Agency. They've had this waiver to set their own emission standards for vehicles sold in the state of California. And so this has been incredibly difficult for automobile manufacturers to make a certain kind of vehicle that can only be sold in one state. So what they started doing is they just started making all of their vehicles comply with California's emission requirements, which were beyond anything that improved human health. They just increased the cost of vehicles and exert California's control over what we get to purchase. Well, California got other states to play along. 17 other states in the Washington District of Columbia said that whatever California sets as their standards will become our standards automatically. So California kept tightening the screws. And guess what? They said, you know what? Well, our standards are now zero emission. And so it's going to force California and every single of those 17 other states in D.C. to only sell electric vehicles. You saw Virginia when the new governor or the current governor got elected, Youngkin, several years ago, got out of that. So it became 16 states. But Congress actually passed a law with broad bipartisan support to rescind that waiver from the state of California to stop the madness as part of one of the EV ways they mandate us to drive electric vehicles. But now consumers are going to get to choose what they want to drive.
I was trying to envision how they would do this, too, because I can't afford an electric car. And even if I could, I don't want one because they're ugly. And I don't like that I have to wait a half hour to fill my tank of... And if I run out, no one can bring me a gallon of electricity. I always say that. It's so stupid. So what were they going to do with all of the cars? Were they just going to pile them up somewhere in the ocean? Or what were they going to do with the cars that are combustible engines? What were they going to do with them?
Well, that's interesting that you mentioned that because they're piling up on shores and ports around not only the U.S. but around the world because support for and interest in electric vehicles is waning. Shell oil company just came out, who runs a lot of European electric charging stations, which I think is laughable. They just came out with a report saying that interest in EVs among Europeans has dropped significantly. And so they're worried about their stupid investment in infrastructure to charge electric vehicles, which that's just them part of playing along with the globalist World Economic Forum decarbonization political agenda that they're trying to get out of the oil business, which was absurd in the first place. But, they've left their shareholders on the line for their bad investments. But, yeah, they are. I've seen pictures recently in Missouri, lots full of cyber trucks. Those cyber trucks are just sitting there, and they're trying to dump them off into people in Canada, which, God bless them, when they're the 51st state, they'll all be driving Texas-made cyber trucks, which, if that's what they want to do, that's great, as long as the government's not mandating that's what they drive.
I don't want them as the 51st state, dude. I'm from North Dakota. Canadians, we don't want them. They eat vinegar on their French fries. We don't want them.
I keep saying we need to get Puerto Rico as like a county in Texas. It'd be great. Great little beach spot to go.
I'm cool with Puerto Rico, man. Bring on Puerto Rico. They need help with their infrastructure anyway, so I'd be more than happy to help them. But I don't want the Canucks. Keep them up there where they are. All right. I wouldn't mind taking Quebec, but the rest of it they can keep. They have some beautiful farmland, but still, no thanks. Newfoundland is a nightmare too. All right. So, as the CEO of American Energy Institute, this is a big deal for you. I do have a guest sitting in studio. He's on after you, but we were chatting while I was listening to you because I'm a woman and I'm awesome like that. We do not have the infrastructure for electric vehicles. So to mandate something that you can't possibly be ready for without spending every single taxpayer dollar that you get. I mean, Newsom's got families who don't even have homes yet since his debacle with the wildfires, and he still hasn't made a plan for reservoirs to handle the ones that will be happening in the near future because it's California, because God forbid we clean up some underbrush and kill a snail. So, we have to think about stuff like that. We're not ready. And the amount of power facilities that we would have to build in the next, 2035, that's impossible.
Yeah, it really is. The infrastructure is not there. And if it were to get there, if we were to go 100% electricity and electrify everything, vehicles, our stoves, everything, it would take over 1,000 years to mine the materials that we need to meet today's demands just in the United States. That just shows you the absolute absurdity, and it does absolutely nothing. I talked about the decarbonization agenda. I tell people I live a high-carbon lifestyle. I think the rest of the world should, too. There are no low-energy, wealthy countries. They just don't exist. We should want every country to be wealthy, like we are here in the United States, to have affordable and reliable energy, and that primarily comes from hydrocarbons, natural gas, coal. It comes from nuclear energy as well. We need more of that. Lord knows the Chinese are killing us when it comes to building coal-fired electricity. When they're building nuclear electricity, they're talking about building hundreds of nuclear power plants. We're talking about building 3 here in the United States. It's absolutely appalling. They are committed to the investment for cheap energy, and what they're doing with that energy is they're exporting goods around the world like we've seen them do on the manufacturing basis. Well, now for the first time ever, China is exporting energy, diesel fuel, jet fuel, home heating oil. And just the group called State Armor came out with a report last week showing how China has been infiltrating our think tanks in this country, how they've been infiltrating higher education to spread this political agenda of climate alarmism so that they can control every aspect of our lives. And that's part of the Electrify Everything Now movement, including EVs.
I just think it's not the time. There might be the day may come when it's a good idea, when they don't weigh 17 zillion pounds so that I have to buy new tires every 2 years, because that's another thing, that all those carbon particles flying in the air, that not good for the environment. But I literally have 30 seconds left. I'm just applauding President Trump and Congress for making this happen, because mandates are what kings do. So we had a No Kings Day. And ironically, in places where they have kings, Jason, they don't allow No King Day protests. They don't allow
hilarious.
that. Yeah, just
this
a bunch
is Congress
of morons
passing a bill with broad bipartisan. A lot of Democrats supported this legislation, and the president, the duly elected president, signed it into law to allow consumers the ability to choose without forcing automobile makers to make a certain type of vehicle. This is a big win for democracy, for a representative republic.
Yeah, I agree. And, after all those protests in all 50 states, Trump's still your president. So there you go. All right, CEO, American Energy Institute, Jason Isaac. Where do they go to learn more, sir?
AmericanEnergyInstitute.com. You can find me on X at Isaac4Energy.
ISAAC, easy enough to find. Jason, have a good one, bud.
Great to be on. Thanks for having me.
You too. Bye-bye.